Hi guys, welcome back. If you're new to my channel, my name is Carmen. Welcome. Now in my video for my predictions for the year 2022, which I made in December 2021, I predicted in that video that there would be war in the world in the year 2022. And I'm not going to get into all of the details of that again, because I already did talk about that, so check that video out. But basically 2022 is a universal 6 year. And yes, in numerology, 6 is a number of love and compassion and kindness. However, every number has a shadow side too. And the shadow side of the number 6 is completely the opposite of love, and that's hate. And so what I said in that video is that in any given year, you can experience the extremes of the number. You can experience the extreme positives of a number, which are, which would be love and a lot of compassion in the year 2022. But you can also experience the extreme opposite, which would be hate. And in that video, I mentioned that even war, right? We could even experience war, because war is the ultimate act of hate. So, but now in this video, we're going to take a look at the specifics, right? We're going to look at the charts of Russia, Putin, and Ukraine, and look at the specifics of exactly why Putin did what he did and what the future of Ukraine and Russia will be, right? What's going to happen between these two countries? Will the war continue or will it end? Will Ukraine become a part of Russia, or will they keep their independence? Will Russia do this to other countries as well? Will the world become a part of this? Now, I want to say beforehand that this is a spiritual video. It is not a political video, okay? So if you get triggered really easily and you're very sensitive, or you want to bring politics into this, then I would suggest to turn off the video right now. I'm giving you a trigger warning, okay? Because some of this stuff can be triggering, and not everybody agrees on everything. I do not have any political point of view. I don't even watch the news, because watching the news just brings my vibration down. The media is just trying to manipulate people, right? We all know this. They want to keep you in a lower vibration. They want to keep you in a state of mind control. We all know this, right? So I've been sending prayers, I've been sending love, I've been sending light and healing energy to those places to try to help bring peace to the world, but I do not watch the news. There are multiple timelines for everything, and this video is just giving my viewers some of the more possible timelines that could happen in regards to Russia. So here are the charts of Vladimir Putin, Ukraine, and the Russian Federation. And before we get started, I've heard about some of the conspiracy theories that are out there regarding this situation, and I'm going to be addressing that at the end of this analysis. So keep watching, because I'm going to talk about that later on in the video. Now, I have already gone ahead and calculated these charts ahead of time to save time. If you want to do this on your own, I'll put a link to my video on how to calculate these numbers in the description box. So when calculating these numbers, you need to use someone or something's full name. So the first, middle, and last name on their birth certificate. Ukraine's full name is just Ukraine, and Russia's full name is Russian Federation. And if a name does not use the Western alphabet, you can use the Western alphabet translation of the name. Now, for the birthday of these two countries, I'm using the day that their Declaration of Independence was proclaimed. For Ukraine, that was August 24th, 1991, and for the Russian Federation, that was December 25th, 1991. So let's take a look at Vladimir Putin's chart first. So Putin's life path number is a 7. The life path number is one of the most important numbers, if not the most important number in your whole entire chart. And 7s tend to be very intellectual, they tend to be very introverted, and they tend to be just very strategic, right? So they're very intelligent, they're always thinking about everything, processing everything in their head, and they're always coming up with a strategy. So I like to say that they're the most strategic number out of all of the numbers. It's also a very spiritual number, and people with the 7 energy are either usually very spiritual or they're very unspiritual. So a lot of atheists have this number as well. And people on the negative side of this number can also be very negative and very pessimistic in their thinking. And I wanted to point that out because he's got 3 7s in his core chart. So when you have that many of one number, that's considered to be an imbalance of that number. Now, 7 is a great number. There's a lot of good qualities about it. But when you have that much energy of one number, then you're going to be imbalanced in that number, and you're often going to be more on the negative side of the number. So what that tells me is that he's probably in his head all the time, strategizing, thinking about things, over-processing things. Often people with a lot of the 7 energy, sometimes they can be paranoid, right? Thinking constantly that everyone's out to get them because they're always in their head all the time. Either that or they're obsessive in their thinking, like, right? So they'll have obsessive thinking, OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, or like I said, paranoia if they have too much of this energy. So just wanted to point that out because that is something that really stood out to me. Another thing that stood out to me is that he's imbalanced in the 5 energy as well. As you can see, his maturity number is a 5. The maturity number is basically who you grow into or who you become as you get older. And his inner dreams number is a 5 as well. So he's imbalanced in the 5 energy. The 5 energy is great. Remember, all numbers have a positive and a negative side. I'm not trying to bash any numbers. 5 can be a great energy because it can be very exploratory, fun, likes to get out and explore the world and just, travel and do all kinds of things and be in nature, that kind of thing. But if you have too much of the 5 energy, you can be unstable. And you can be reckless and rebellious. The positive side of the 5 energy is fun and excitement. The shadow side of the 5 energy is chaos and recklessness. So a lot of imbalance is going on in his chart. Another thing I wanted to point out is that every single number in his core chart is an odd number. And the odd numbers tend to be less stable than the even numbers. Now, the odd numbers have a lot of great qualities about them. They tend to be more open-minded and more abstract in their thinking, more able to think outside of the box than the even numbers, but they are not as stable and grounded as the even numbers. And the reason I point that out is because every single number in his core chart is an odd number. So that tells me that he's not a very stable person, and he's probably not very grounded either. He's probably in his head all the time, processing things and worrying about things and, constantly thinking about what's going to happen next, and probably has tons of anxiety and possibly paranoia and mental issues because of this, because of the fact that he's not grounded and there's a lot of instability within his chart. But he has a very spiritual chart with the Soul Surge 11 and all of the 7s in there. Honestly, guys, I wouldn't be surprised if he was psychic and had psychic abilities, or was able to channel spirit, or was using occult practices such as numerology and astrology, or other areas of the occult to basically help him to strategize and to do, to make his moves and to plan out and plot out what he's going to do next. Now, looking at Ukraine's chart, I can see why he would be drawn to Ukraine. From a spiritual point of view, on an energetic level, there is a similar energy where Ukraine has the same life path number, same purpose, and they have the same expression number, which is also known as the destiny number, and they also have the same maturity number. It's interesting that Ukraine's inner dreams number is a 7, and 7 is a very introspective number, and there's a lot of solitude to this number. So it's kind of like Ukraine has this inner dream within them to just kind of be left alone. Meanwhile, Russia's inner dream number is a 6, and 6 is the number of the family, and it's like Russia's inner dream is completely the opposite and is like, no, we don't want to leave you alone. We want you to become part of the family. Now, in 2020, Putin moved into an 8 essence, and the essence is kind of like cycles that you go through. And they're calculated by adding up all of the transits that are calculated from the letters in your name. And so these can be pretty random. You can be in an essence for 1 year, or you could be in an essence for 10 years. It's pretty random. And he entered an 8 essence in 2020, and he's still in an 8 essence pretty much up until 2025. So because he's in an 8 essence, in addition to being in an 8 cycle, by the way, I could see why he's trying to grow his power and trying to take over and conquer other countries, because that is the 8 energy. It's all about power and status. And when you're in an 8 essence, you're more likely to succeed at whatever it is that you're trying to do. The universe is like supporting you and making it so that, you know, you're trying to gain in your power, and the universe is making it so that that will happen for you, basically. Another thing too is Ukraine is currently in a 9 essence, and 9 is the number of endings in numerology, because it's the last number, so it represents finality and transcendence. And it's going to be in a 9 essence until 2024. So what that tells me is that things are coming to an end for Ukraine. 9, once again, is an odd number, so it's not going to be the most stable, empowered kind of energy to be in. And Putin is completely the opposite. He's in his 8 essence right now and in an 8 cycle. Another thing too is that Russia entered an 11 essence in 2022 and will be in an 11 essence until 2023. And 11 is a master number, and it's very similar to 8 in the fact that it's all about manifestation and, doing things on a very big level, or doing things that bring illumination to certain issues, because 11 is the number of illumination, and it's all about doing everything in a really big way. So they're experiencing that 11 energy right now, and the 11 energy is not always the easiest energy. So it can be very challenging, and it can be quite a roller coaster of up and down, right? Being up and then being down, being up and then being down. But they are going to be in an 8 period until December 25th, 2022. Each personal year can be broken up into 3 distinct periods, and all of theirs are going to be 8s up until the end of the year. So what that tells me is that it's going to be up and down for Russia. They're going to gain some, but then they're going to lose some. Gain some, but then lose some. This 11 essence and 8 period combination in Russia could also be why we see a lot of people that are protesting right now and coming out to protest Vladimir Putin. The people of Russia are feeling more empowered to do that because of this energy that they're in. You know, there's always multiple timelines for everything, but with this energy, I do think that there's a chance that Putin could end up taking over or conquering Ukraine because of his 8 essence, and Russia being in an 11 essence, and Ukraine being in a 9 essence, and 9 is the number of endings or something coming to an end. And there's a strong possibility that he'll attempt to do this to other neighboring countries as well. Even though Ukraine is in a 9 essence, and 9 is the number of endings, they're also in an 8 pinnacle. And the pinnacles are kind of like the seasons of our lives. And when you're in an 8 pinnacle, it's all about developing and harnessing your own personal power, discovering what makes you powerful and how to use that to basically become the most powerful person that you can become, right? And so each pinnacle goes through a 9-year cycle. And in the beginning part of the pinnacle, it can be challenging where you don't have power and you're struggling to try to figure out, how do I attain my own personal power? How do I develop it? What do I need to do? So there's a lot of struggle in the beginning of an 8 pinnacle. And Ukraine is currently in the beginning stages of their 8 pinnacle. As you can see, they're only in the 2nd year of their 8 pinnacle because they're having a 2 personal year. So what that tells me is that right now there might be a struggle, right? There might be a struggle to find their identity, to develop their own power, to stand up to a bigger power, right? And to develop their own inner strength. And then with things coming to an end too, because they're in a 9 essence. But as they go along, as the years continue, their power will become stronger and it will grow. As they move forward and move along in their 8th pinnacle and get closer to the end of it, they will become more powerful and learn how to develop and harness their own personal power and use it to their advantage. Because they're in an 8th pinnacle, that's really good news for them, because what that tells me is that even though there might be a struggle this year and next year, and if Putin is able to conquer them, it's not going to last, because eventually they will become very, very powerful being in this 8th pinnacle as they move along in it and get towards the end of it. So it will only be temporary and they will eventually have their freedom again. And as you can see in 2025, they enter a 5 essence and a 5 personal year. So they will definitely be free at that time, because 5 is the number of freedom. So yeah, it's not going to last. Whatever happens, they eventually will take power over themselves again, and they'll have their freedom and their independence again. And being in this 8th pinnacle, it's possible that they could prevent him from taking over in the first place. So it could go either way, basically. Another thing is that Putin's 8 essence comes to an end in 2025, and he enters a 4 essence and a 9 personal year in 2026. And he'll be having a 9 personal year and a 9 pinnacle, so that's double the 9 energy. Remember, 9 is a number of endings, so things could all come to an end for him in 2026 or by 2026. And being in a 4 essence is quite different than being in an 8 essence, because 4 can be a lot more challenging and slow paced. It's the number of hard work, and there can be a lot of limitations when you're in a 4 essence or when you're in a 4 energy. So things aren't going to come as easily for him after that, and there will be more limitations put on him, and things will become more difficult and more challenging, and things will be coming to an end at that point. So as Putin's power is starting to fall, Ukraine's power will be starting to rise as they get further into their 8th pinnacle. And then another thing too I wanted to point out is that his life path has a karmic debt attached to it as well. He is a 16-7 karmic debt life path number 7. Not all 7s have a karmic debt attached to them, but this one does. The 16-7 one does. So what that means is that with this karmic debt, it's all about death and rebirth, death and rebirth. It's a constant death of the ego, right? The ego gets really inflated within the person, and then the ego gets shut down and it dies because something happens, right? So people with this karmic debt, their egos will become really inflated, but then something will happen that will take them down, and then their ego gets destroyed, basically. And it's like a constant cycle of death and rebirth for them so that they can reach higher levels of consciousness. So with this karmic debt, something could happen to him that will destroy his ego, and then he's shattered as a result and has to do a lot of soul searching and a lot of inner work to figure out, where did he go wrong, right? So I don't think it's going to end very well for him. And he's got a lot of challenging aspects about his chart. And a lot of this empowered energy that he's in right now, it's going to be coming to an end pretty soon. And I'm being told by my guides that it's very unlikely that all of this is going to lead to a nuclear war. That's very unlikely to happen. I know that there's a lot of conspiracy theories about this war that are going around right now, and I do want to say that when it comes to the media and the news, always take everything that they show you and they tell you with a grain of salt. Don't believe everything that they show you and they tell you, because they are in it to make money. They want to keep you in a state of worry and fear, constantly showing you negative things that are happening around the world so that you think that the world is a negative place and you're constantly worried and basically depressed and negative all the time, because when you're in a lower vibration, then you can be controlled. then your power is taken away from you, and the people at the top, the elites, can then basically do whatever they want, right? And they can maintain the status quo. And so I do believe that the media has an agenda, and they are not working in your favor. They're working in the favor of the elites and the people at the top. They're not in it for you. So the more you can distance yourself from the media and watching the news and that kind of thing, then the more empowered you will become. Now, that doesn't mean that all of the mainstream media is bad. There are some good journalists and media outlets out there, but most of it is just out there to hurt you more than to help you. So when it comes to this war, it's just like with everything else. Do not believe everything that you are shown. Do your own research, right? Do your own research. Do not believe everything that the media shows you. Because honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there was something about this war that the mainstream media was hiding from us, because they have an agenda and they are not to be trusted. So with that being said, no matter what your reason is for starting a war, it's never cool to kill people. So there is no justification for anything that Putin has done, right? You don't fight evil with evil. Two wrongs do not make a right. There is no justification ever to kill innocent people. Even if he is trying to fight the New World Order, like some conspiracy theorists are trying to say, that he's fighting the New World Order. No, there is no justification ever for harming or killing anybody. So the best thing that we can do, like I had mentioned before, is send positive, loving, comforting, healing energy to both sides. That's right. Send it to Ukraine and Russia. Send your love to both sides. That's how we stop this. That's how we put an end to it. I know that might be triggering to a lot of people, because there's a lot of people out there that are very angry at Putin and Russia right now. But he needs to be feeling that loving, peaceful energy more than anybody else right now, because he's in a very negative place. So send that loving, peaceful energy to Ukraine and to Putin and to Russia and to both sides, and pray for the best possible outcome for both sides, because that is what is going to heal this warlike energy that is in the world right now. Peace, right? And peace comes everywhere. Peace is not just for one side, it's for both sides. So that is the best way to put an end to this, because you are more powerful than you realize. And just you doing that, just you alone doing that, it's going to make such a huge difference. You have no idea. Another thing too is that the law of projection states that whatever is happening within us will be seen out in our external world. So if there is a war going on in the world, the law of projection states that really what that means is that there is a war going on within us. There is a war going on within the collective consciousness. There are some people out there that are at war with themselves. And so you have to ask yourself, how am I at war with myself? What have I not come to peace with within me? Are you at peace with yourself? Have you come to peace with your past, with your present? Are you at peace with your body and the way you look? Are you at peace with your life? Are you at peace with your neighbors? Or is there always some sort of a struggle, with your neighbors or the people that you work with? Is there a war going on in your life at some point, at some place? You have to think about these things, because we need to find more peace within ourselves and peace within our lives. And once we do that, that will be projected and manifested out into our external world. As long as we are at war with ourselves or somebody else, there's always going to be war in the world. That's the law of projection. So this is something that we all need to work on, every single one of us, myself included, right? I'm part of this too. And this is how we heal the world, and we prevent war from ever happening on this planet. And we can do this, but we all have to work on this together. So let me know in the comments below, what you think will happen in this situation. What do you think will happen between Russia and Ukraine? And what do you think will happen to Vladimir Putin? Let us know in the comments below. And if you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up and share it with other people to really help to get this information out there as much as possible. And if you want to book a reading with me, I will put that information below in the description box. I would love to have you subscribe and to become part of the family. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Thanks for watching. I love you guys, and I'll see you in my next video. Take care.